Starting off with business activity, we talk about the economic problem. The economic problem is simply when we have unlimited wants and limited resources, causing scarcity and therefore ultimately causing opportunity cost for us to take. With business activity, we have added value, which added value is the selling price minus the cost of bought materials. Alongside business activity, we have something called the division of labor. Division of labor is simply when the production process is split into different tasks, and this is a form of specialization. What is specialization? Specialization is when people concentrate on what they are best at. We have 4 factors of production that's tied with the business activity, which is land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Under the classification of businesses, we have 2 types of sectors, the public sector, which is government owned, and the private sector, which is run by individuals. We have 3 stages of an economic activity, which is primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Let's now talk about enterprise business growth and size. Starting off with how to compare business sizes, we start off with value of sales, value of output, number of employees. We have 2 types of business growth, the external growth and the internal growth. Within external growth, we have 3 types of merging, horizontal merging, vertical merging, and lateral merging. We now ask ourselves, why do businesses stay small? We have 3 owner's objective, types of industry, and the market size. Secondly, why do businesses fail? We have overexpansion, poor management, failure to plan for change, and many more. Next, why do we have a business plan? We have a business plan so that it's easier to get loans, it helps motivate employees, and there's less chance to lose sight of the mission. Some characteristics of an entrepreneur are risk takers, creative, effective communication, optimistic, and innovative. Next up, we talk about the types of business organizations. We have 3 types of business organizations that you need to know, which are joint stock companies, sole traders, and partnerships. You're supposed to know the advantages, disadvantages, and the features of all 3. Let's now move on to business objectives and stakeholder objectives. First of all, what is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is any person who is interested in or directly affected by the performance of a business. Some examples would be workers, managers, customers, governments, and banks. We now need to talk about public sector businesses. The objective of a public sector business is financial, survival, and social. And a business objective would be survival, profit, growth, market share, and service to the society. We need to also now talk about the conflicts of stakeholder objectives. For example, a worker aims towards earning a higher salary, but a shareholder might not want this because it could reduce the profits. Let's now talk about motivating workers. We have 2 factors, which is financial factors and non-financial factors. Financial factors would be salary, commission, wages, bonus, and profit sharing, while non-financial factors would be something like job satisfaction. Why should we motivate workers? We motivate workers so that they are more productive, more efficient, more output, which would cause more profits. We need to know 3 motivation theories, which are the Herzberg, Maslow, and the F.W. Taylor. Let's now talk about organization and management. We start off with organizational structure, which is simply the levels of management and division of responsibilities within a business. We have 3 types of leadership styles, the autocratic, the democratic, and the laissez-faire. According to the different managements, we have planning, organizing, coordinating, communicating, controlling, and commanding. We now need to talk about delegation. We need to know the advantages for manager and advantages for subordinate. And then we need to know what trade unions are. Trade unions, you need to know the advantages and the disadvantages. Let's now talk about recruitment, selection, and training. We have 2 types of recruitment processes, which are external recruitment and internal recruitment. Under training, we have induction, on the job, and off the job. When we talk about selection, it's based on the applicant's ability to do the job, the personal qualities of the applicant, and the character and personality of the applicant. We need to know about the role of the human resource department. They handle the recruitment and selection, wages and salaries, industrial relations, training programs, health and safety, and redundancy and dismissal. We need to know the recruitment process, which involves the job analysis, the job description, and finally the job specification. Let's now talk about the internal and external communications. We have 2 types of communications, the internal communication and the external communication. We have 3 communication methods, which involve verbal, written, and visual. Effective communication would involve the 2-way communication and the 1-way communication, the upward communication and the downward communication. We also need to know the factors that affect the choice of an appropriate communication. So the factors are these, that they are importance of feedback, importance of written record, the leadership styles, the message details, the cost, and the speed. We need to also talk about communication barriers, which involve the factors that are problems with feedback, problems with receiver, problems with the medium, and the problems with the sender. Let's now move on to marketing, competition, and the customer. First of all, we have 2 types of marketing, mass and niche. Within marketing, we need to know the objectives and the roles. Some roles are identifying customer needs, satisfying customer needs, maintaining customer loyalty, and many more. Within the objectives, some of the objectives are raising awareness of the product, increasing sales and revenue of the profit, and to increase or maintain market share. Why are some markets become more competitive? First of all, we have the improvement in transport infrastructure, globalization, internet, e-commerce. Now, how do businesses respond to changing customer spending and increased competition? Some of them are to keep improving the existing products, introduce new products, and to keep the costs low. Let's now talk about market research. We have two types of market researches: secondary market research and primary market research. Within primary market research, we have different methods that involve observation, focus group, interview, and questionnaire. We need to also know the process and the collection of original data. Within secondary market research, this is the collection of data that has already been made available to others. We have two types of secondary market researches, which is internal and external. Let's now talk about marketing mix. We need to know several terminologies, and let's get started with the first one, which is price. Within price, we need to know about price elasticity, what is price elasticity, and the different methods of price: penetration pricing, competitive pricing, cost plus pricing, and loss leader. Another aspect that you need to know is promotion. We have several types of promotions. That examples are sales promotions, below the line, personal selling, direct mail, and advertising. We also have factors that affect promotion, which is stages of productions, the nature of the product, and the nature or target of the market. Moving on, we need to know about the place. We need to know about the distribution channels, and we have three distribution channels, which are manufactured to consumers, manufactured to retailers, and manufactured to wholesalers. Factors that affect these places are the type of product, technicality of the product, how often the product is purchased, the price of product, the durability of the product, and the location of the customers. We also need to know about the technology and the mix, which involves e-commerce. Let's now move on to marketing strategy. The factors that affect marketing strategy are product, price, place, and promotion. Problems of entering foreign markets are lack of market knowledge, difference in legal controls to protect customers, the difference in the language, the economic difference, high transport costs, and social difference. How do you fix this? We have joint venture and franchises. Let's now move on to production of goods and services. First of all, what are the methods of production? We have job production, batch production, and flow production. And what are the factors that affect these productions, or which method to choose, are the nature of the product, the size of the market, the nature of the demand, and the size of the business. Under production, we need to know about lean production. The methods for these are cell production, Kaizen, just in the inventory control. And to know in this is the types of wastages, which is overproduction, waiting, transportation, unnecessary inventory, motion, defects, and overprocessing. When talking about productivity, we need to know how to increase this productivity. So here we need to know about improving the employment motivation, introduce automation, training, and improve quality control and assurance system. Let's now talk about cost, scale of production, and break-even analysis. We have two types of economies of scale, which is diseconomies of scale and economies of scale. Diseconomies of scales would involve poor communication, low morale, and slow decision making. With economies of scale, the types are technical economies, managerial economies, financial economies, marketing economies, and purchasing economies. When talking about costs, we need to know what total costs are. Total costs are total fixed costs plus total variable costs, or total costs are equal to the average cost times the output. We need to know about fixed costs and average costs. What is break-even analysis? Break-even analysis is simply when the break level of production equals to total fixed cost divided by the contribution per input. Let's now talk about achieving quality production. What's the importance of quality? First, it establishes brand image, builds brand loyalty, good reputation, increases sales, and attracts new customers. We need to know the advantages and disadvantages for the following: the quality control, the quality assurance, and the total quality management. Talking about location decisions, we need to know the factors that affect locations in retailing firms, in service sector firms, and in manufacturing firms. Let's now talk about businesses' finance and the needs and sources. What are the factors that affect the choice of source of finance? Time period, purpose, amount needed, legal form and size, control, and risk gearing. Some sources of finance involve short-term finance, long-term finance, and the internal finance and external finance. Let's now talk about cash flow forecasting and working capital. We have two types of cash flow, which is cash outflow and cash inflow. How cash flow can be used to overcome some problems would involve increasing bank loans, delaying the payments to suppliers, asking debtors to pay more quickly, and to delay or cancel purchases of capital equipment. When talking about working capital, this can be in a form of, for example, cash needed to pay expenses, cash due to the debtors or creditors. When talking about net cash flow, this equals to the total cash inflow minus the total cash outflow. We need to know the examples and we need to know the definitions of everything mentioned here. These are all the equations that you're supposed to know for income statements. You can pause the video and learn all of them. When talking about balance sheets, we need to know about liabilities, the two types, non-current liabilities and current liabilities. We need to know about assets, which are non-current assets and current assets. And we need to know about shareholders' equities and all the equations related to that, which are here. These are all the equations that you're supposed to know for analysis of accounts. Talking about the government economic policies, we have the supply side policy, and some economic objectives involve reducing income inequality, maintaining economic growth, achieving price stability, reducing unemployment, and maintaining balance of payment stability. Within the business cycle, we have growth, boom, recession, and the slump. We now need to talk about environmental and ethical issues. First of all, why businesses do not want to be environment friendly and why they want to be environment friendly. You need to know both the reasons why. When talking about externalities, we have private costs, private benefits, external costs, and external benefits. You're supposed to know each of these terms. When talking about ethical decisions, these are basically based on moral code. So that means anything that's done right. We also need to talk about sustainable development, and some examples are recycling waste and using fewer resources. Let's finally now talk about business and the internal economy. We need to know about protectionism, which involves import quotas and tariffs. When talking about multinationals, we need to know why firms become multinationals. Finally, we need to know about globalization. The reason for globalization is to increase the number of free trade agreements, improved cheaper transport, and developing and emerging countries are becoming rapidly industrialized. Within exchange rates, we need to know two terms, appreciation and depreciation. With that being said, that ends the video. I'm going to leave a link to all the written notes that I've used in this video down in the description, as well as all the IGCSE business notes that are thorough and extensive down in the description, so go check it out. And finally, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, guys.